Alright, so yesterday I got this far. So pulling this front end together, you know, it's all laying flat and separated. They say to use a clamp, and there's these two tabs in front. You know, the instructions say to cut it off at the marks, but it doesn't actually have any marks, so I'm not exactly sure where to cut it off. Anyway, these tabs, you use a clamp to pull them together, but great. This clamp is all I got. I've got other ones, but this is the only one that would have the strength to do it. And of course, it's limited to that many threads. So I just tacked on these scraps of metal to be able to hold it while I reset the clamp to get another 3 or 4 inches. And then as you're pulling it together, the seam comes together, you know, and as you're coming up, I had to use a screwdriver to kind of make sure they're even with each other, you know, and then run the tack weld. So worked out pretty good. You know, I had to kind of figure it out. It took a little time, but not bad at all. And of course, this is the brace that I built. Just real simple. You know, it's the strongest. You know, I was concerned that is the brace to keep it from spreading while you're doing this and other things, or is the brace to keep it from coming together? Because with this front piece, you're actually pulling it, you know, them into each other. So not sure. I had some flat stock aluminum, but it wasn't very thick, and as you can see right there, I thought, well, the aluminum would probably keep it from spreading, but you know, it would bend if inward force was placed on it. So just used some thicker steel, you know, bolted those on. You know, I checked the measurement when I was done, and it was like, you know, a 32nd different than when I welded that on. So, you know, apparently there was a little bit of movement. Hopefully it's not a problem. You know, it's really close to the dimension they say it's supposed to be. Of course, tacked on the transom. You know, instructions said to do that before you pulled the front together. Now, because the bend was narrower than it probably should have been, because I would think it should fit the center, the keel should fit the cutout of the transom. You know, I ended up, it was actually higher than it looks now. And I mean, it appears that my tack welds actually pulled it down, which is really odd, but it's like, well, whatever, you know. And it was probably 3/16 of a gap, you know, which is a fair amount. I mean, at least 1/8 inch. But anyway, there's these marks on the outside that mark where the transom goes, and the instructions say the inside face should line up with the mark, you know, of the transom. So, you know, I just put the inside face at the center of that, and it looks like it actually moved back a little bit when I spot welded the backside, which is, you know, should probably know that. You know, you most likely is, you know, it's better to put a tack on one side than the other, you know, and kind of you know, so it won't pull to one side. If you tack all of one side, it might pull back slightly. So hopefully I won't be cutting that off, but you know, I got to build the engine bearer assembly next. And you know, I think as far as the instructions go, it says after that, then we're dealing with the intake. I'm just not sure. I think the intake needs to go in before the engine bearers, just to have room to you know, to cut and grind and all that. The problem is my plasma cutter failed, and I got some new consumables for it, but still nothing. So I checked all the cables and stuff, so I don't know. It's a cut master. You know, I bought it locally from Airgas. They don't sell them anymore, don't service them. It's a 12-15-year-old unit. It's always been fine. You know, I've had to replace consumables because it stopped working before, but no go this time around. So I don't know if there's something in the circuit board, you know, that decided not to go. Probably going to pull it apart again, just recheck all the connections and everything. But I don't know if it's worth fixing, and yeah, I didn't want to spend $1,800 on a new machine. It just really sucks, you know. And it cut this 1/2-inch aluminum or this 0.4-inch aluminum just fine. Otherwise, I'll be looking at jigsawing it or something, you know. So, bummer. But anyway, that's where it's at. You know, put the engine bearers together, probably set them in there. You know, and then start working on the intake, which, you know, that's going to be a lot of thinking and a lot of, you know, measuring and whatnot. You know, I got to verify before I weld it in. You know, I got to verify that motor's going to sit in there and have clearance. You know, and then tweak it if not, because, you know, I don't have the skills to. I mean, it's direct coupled from the crankshaft. You know, and you want that angle to be straight on and square. I mean, you know, the type of coupler it is, I'm sure you could be a little bit off on your angle, you know, not exactly square, but, you know, it just seems like a real bad idea. So, you know, just got to make it work. So, see you next video.